What's going on, guys? BillMonsoon here and welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk to you guys about some of the good and bad points in Battlefield 1 so far. Of course, we are still in the beta stage, but there's a few things that I kind of like that we have so far, and a few things that I don't like, and I kind of hopefully change before the full game comes out. So I'll start off with the good points and then move on to the bad points. Now the first good point I have is that the game actually works. Battlefield is really known for being a series that barely works most of the time. When a game comes out, it doesn't work at all, and even points where the beta hasn't worked, but there's been issues in the beta, and then they're still there when the full game comes out. Occasionally the game has been unplayable, or people haven't been able to do basic things, so thank God this one actually works. And again, it is only the beta, but at least the beta works well enough to the point where you can actually play it for a long time, not have any major issues, which is a good sign for when the full game will finally release. Now secondly, for a good point, I feel like there's the right balance of chaos but still clever and sort of diverse gameplay. You feel like an actual soldier caught up in this giant battle with explosions happening everywhere and everything, going on all the time. But at the same time, I don't get the Battlefield 4 feeling where I'll be doing something and I'll just be outmatched by one thing or another. I actually do feel like my team is there with me, and if I see a tank, I'm afraid of the tank, but I'm not afraid to the point where I have no hope against it like in Battlefield 4 again. Tanks are definitely limited about where they can go and where they can't go. Same for infantry. If you go into the open field infantry, you're going to get murdered. But if you're a tank and you go into the crowded city, you're also going to get murdered. Again, that's something I feel was missing from Battlefield 4, so it's great to see it back, and I really think it's a clever dynamic. The game also has an amazing immersive experience. Like I said, I actually feel like a soldier. Playing for the first time, I was there going, oh my god, this is so much like I wanted it to be. Everything I've seen, everything I've heard, it is exactly like that. Next up, I really love the small little things like the elite classes, the bayonet charge, the war bonds, weapons having sort of preset classes and abilities, sniper sweet spots, all things that make the game more dynamic and more fun. Even things like the horse, which isn't a typical vehicle. You can actually go up and slash enemies. You're a lot quicker than most of the vehicles. The train coming in, the behemoth, not very good, but I like the fact that it happens. The 3 types of bomber, the fact that there's preset classes for the bomber and tank drivers. Things like the gas mask, and although I'm not a huge fan of it, the Speedy Revive is actually a clever system. It just needs some tweaking, I feel, maybe. Make it a little bit slower, because a lot of the time you can just hold on that spacebar instantly and there's no chance of getting you up. All these little things do add a new dynamic to the game, a new way to play, rather than just go in, fight, possibly die, and then go up and just do the same thing again. You have a whole range of what you can do and different ways you can approach it, more than we've ever seen in Battlefield before. So next up I want to talk about the bad points that so far are in the beta, and the first one only has to do with Sinai Desert, and it's the fact that E-Flag is just weird. It's so far to the point where it's unused and pointless. Nobody goes there so I can just capture it, and teams just don't bother to try and put up some defense to get it back. Sure, you can capture it from the air and there's absolutely no combat there, so you can easily capture it and never see anyone around. But again, that's the problem, it's so far out that no combat happens there, and it just feels weird and out of place, like nobody's bothering with it. Now what I would like if they put the behemoth there, as in if you own this point at 150 score, then you get the behemoth when 150 score happens. This would be an incentive, because it means that the team that would maybe be behind could capture this point, get the behemoth and actually turn the battle, but the team that's actually winning could capture it as well, and there they go up and they actually end the game sooner. Now this leads to my second point that I don't like. The new conquest system doesn't really work, I don't find. It's a clever idea in the fact now that score counts up rather than down, with tickets bleeding the more flags you have. Actually the score now goes up with the more flags you have. But the problem with this is that kills don't matter, which means revives don't matter. Beforehand, once you come back into battle, once you respawn, you actually take a ticket away from your own team, meaning you'll actually hurt your own team. So it's occasionally better to get all the revives you can, that way you don't lose tickets. That way it also gives you an incentive to go and get more kills, because it means that you can take away tickets by getting people, and there you go, that's your job done. Rather than having to capture objectives, you can take out enemies. And the other problem as well is that the timer, it kind of ends the game. The fact it's like a 20-minute timer, you'll play the game, you'll get to say 200 score, and you think, okay, we'll get to 300. Oh wait a minute, we have like a minute left. And you basically won the game. It doesn't feel climatic at all. It doesn't feel like there should be a big final push where everybody's sort of getting more quiet, more slow into the game, and the whole thing turns into a giant battle, it just kind of feels like the game happens and ends. I'd love to see the timer just flat out removed, and that way I could feel like I make the game, get to 300 points, and that's how you win the game. I feel like it'd be more competitive and overall more interesting. And the other thing as well is maybe if they don't want to have 1 kill equals 1 point because they feel out that would end the game too soon, maybe if they do for the whole team, if the whole team gets 5 kills, then that's 1 point. This adds the point there where you have to kill a bunch of people to see a serious increase, but at the same time it does add going and getting enemies as an actual incentive rather than capturing all objectives, and people who don't specialise in that can actually contribute to the team. So now my final point, I want to talk about the game mode Rush. It just, again, from Battlefield 4, it was wasted and poorly done, and it feels exactly the same on at least Sinai Desert. The problem is there's poor placement of the objectives, and they're just really not good areas you want to put them. Only the last one in the town is one that's actually fun to try and capture, and actually fairly balanced. The first one is just way too hard to capture because there's so many different areas where the enemies can hide and you have no idea they're there. So if you have a huge coordinated attack, you can never get close. What I would like to see is that the first objective is on E, then you move through into the desert having a huge open area, then onto the train station, and finally onto the town. As you go further on, they'd actually get harder, so the first one is really easy for attackers to get, second one's a little bit harder, third one's a little bit harder, fourth one is really difficult. Also, I would like to see tanks either completely removed, or being limited to 1 per team. I found so much of the time playing Rush that I'd go up somewhere and instantly there's a tank there and I think, oh, what can I do? There's nothing I can do against. So I'd like to see them, again, removed or limited to 1 each, or at least limited on the objectives where they are. Again, this is only the beta, it's only 1 map, but it's not a good sign if this is all we have for Rush right now. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Just something I'll talk about Battlefield 1. This is the second video in a row, so Monday we'll be Rainbow Six Siege again. I'm working that video now. You'll really love that one, so check it out when it comes out. But until then, Blue Monsoon, out.